Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and so wicked happy that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in this mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, Castbox, Player FM, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have a jam-packed show for you today. Dr. Pamela Ellis is the founder and driving force behind CompassCollegeAdvisory.com, and she's here to talk to us about how we can help our kids find the right college for them. Later on in the show, father and daughter team Gary Intili and Leighann Troino will be here to celebrate the adventures of Fribbit the frog. And Tom and Landa Peniston will be here to celebrate the adventures of Granola Squash. This episode is brought to you by Feliz Navidad. It's December of 2019, and Pittsburgh is covered in a terrible fog. Even worse, all of the reindeer get sick and they can't fly. Everyone in the North Pole is worried they'll have to cancel Christmas. But just when all hope seems lost, Santa's pet, Feliz Navidad, raises his paw to help. And while a dog is not quite a reindeer, Feliz is their last chance to save Christmas. This is a book about perseverance and grit, Feliz Navidad, the story of how Santa's dog saved Christmas. Get your copy today, Feliz Navidad, by Ari and Rhea Helper. Join us right now from the beautiful city of Chicago. Our guest is here today to help us figure out better ways to help our kids decide where they should continue their education. She's the founder of Compass College Advisory. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Pamela Ellis. Hey, Dr. Pam, how are you?
Hello there, Jed. How are you? I am so excited to be here today.
Well, I'm excited to have you on myself. We've talked a lot about education here on the podcast, the goods and the not so goods. And I think one of the challenges people are having these days is how we can help our kids make better decisions about college.
Yes. Absolutely. It's on the minds and hearts of a lot of parents out there, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we've talked here. One of the things that we've talked about is how important it is to talk to our kids about financial literacy. And we've had some people say, why do you need to talk to a third grader about financial literacy? Well, the reality is most parents are talking to their kids from kindergarten to first grade, like, you've got to do good in school so you can get into a good college. And so they're hearing this for 12 years. They're not hearing anything about how we're going to pay for college and what, you know, and what, you know, what decisions we're going to make. So we're kind of backwards, you know, we're not giving kids all the information that they need.
Right, right. And you know something, the thing about it too is that when students start to look at the information, like really get to know the colleges, so many of them do hone in on the financial cost of it. And it's, you know, a conversation that oftentimes as parents we're not having. Maybe we don't feel comfortable having that conversation, but certainly the kids realize it. And high school is a great time to have that conversation, because once they go off to high school, all of that information goes to the student. It does not come to the parent anymore. And so it's important that we're supporting them with making wise decisions around the cost of college as well.
Yeah. So that's interesting what you said about, the information about college. It's not going to the parents, even though the kids are still minors and they're still living at home and parents are responsible for them. It's going directly to the kids and
no, once they're in college.
Oh, in
once
college.
they're in college,
okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's when
I
it goes
misheard you.
directly to them. Yes.
And I'll share with you something, and you can tell me what you think about it. One of the things you mentioned is your service helps parents find the right college for their kids, a college that feels at home without visiting 100 different campuses. When my daughter was in high school and she was visiting campuses, I did educational magic shows for 35 years, and she would come out on tour with me. And one summer, that was our tour, was going out, and she was going to visit schools. We'd do my show in the morning, visit schools in the afternoon. And we had a student from Italy with us, and she was in medical school in Italy. She came over to live with us for a couple of months to learn English and find out about the country. And we had visited 4 or 5 different schools. And Chiara from Italy got back into the car at one point, and she said, Jed, I don't understand. We see the rocker wall. We see the pool. We see the cafeteria. We see the washing machine that texts you when your laundry is done. But we haven't met a professor. We haven't seen a study lab. We haven't seen. And for her, it was like backwards. All we were seeing in these college visits were the playgrounds that the college was providing, and not anything about the academics. Is that something that most kids experience, or did we just have this weird experience?
That was a different kind of experience.
Okay.
Most of them are getting a sense for the academics as well as other resources that are available on campus for them when they do the visits. And that's why it's important in many cases to do an official visit as opposed to driving by or looking at the campus on your own through a headset or a map.
Well, we had those official visits. That's why it was
That's
so
surprising to see. To see. But Jed, one thing I wanted to say before we go any further, I wanted to say to your audience just how lucky they are to have you as a host. I have listened to some of your shows and enjoy the curiosity that you bring to your guests and understanding and giving them a chance to really shine. So thank you so much for that. And I want to remind your guests to go out and give you a 5-star review.
Well, thank you very, very much. I'll meet you at Logan Airport on Sunday and give you a check for that.
Yes.
So if a family has a student, first, when should they reach out to you? Sophomore year, junior year, or earlier?
Sophomore year is the perfect time to reach out.
And when they do reach out, tell us a little bit about the process of how you help families and kids.
Yeah, absolutely. When families reach out to us, a couple of things that we're clear about to help them with making sure that it's going to be a good fit for them is understanding what our approach is, and also understanding that in our work with their student, it's a family program, first off, and that means that there are going to be a combination of meetings with the student individually and also with the family to make sure that they're on the same page. And then secondly, the teen owns the process. We're coaching and guiding. We're not doing the work for them. And one of the key things that we want to develop, with that student is that they also are building their resilience. We're nurturing that resilience and confidence in them through our time together. And so having that understanding is important. And that's where we start. 10th grade looks different than junior year, and it looks different from senior year as well. And so we start with really getting to know the student and that family, helping the student to also build a sense of self-awareness and self-advocacy. And then we get into talking about the list of colleges. In sophomore year, we don't even talk specifically about colleges just yet, because we feel like students really do need to get a sense for who they are and what their interests are. And so junior year is when we start talking about colleges in earnest.
Yeah. That sounds like a very intelligent approach to do, because I think there are a lot of students out there who aren't having those conversations with anybody, or maybe they're just having the conversations with their friends in the cafeteria of their high school, and those aren't always the most productive conversations to have.
Yeah, that's so true. And more importantly, students aren't having those conversations with their parents, because as we all know, kids hear things differently from their parents than they do from a third party. And they are not having a conversation. And so there's that tension, because there's that lack of communication at home, and kids, may lash out, or maybe they're just giving their parents the silent treatment. And there's a lot of tension around the whole process, because teens naturally just don't really talk to their parents about it in the way that parents sometimes want them to. And so we are facilitating and bridging that communication gap.
Excellent. Yeah. One of the frustrations that we had with my son was, as he was going through his high school, we tried to talk to him about different colleges, and, all the different materials were coming in, stacks of, flyers and catalogs from all these different colleges. He never opened up one.
Right.
And he was just putting it off. And I'm sure I didn't do as good a job as I could have if I had had somebody like you working with me. But he wouldn't sit down and really think about college until December of his senior year.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, dude, this is really late in the game.
Yes, that is. And I feel like we want the best for our kids, and sometimes we have to let them do it in a way that allows them to see the consequences of that procrastination. So,
yeah. Well, one of the reasons I launched Reading with Your Kids is that I know the bond that I have now with my adult kids was built on a foundation of reading and talking together. And reading together led to cooking together and watching TV together, and not getting my son to open up all those college catalogs together. But I'm hoping that if we lay a foundation of having good conversations with our kids, not only when they're 5, but as they go through their school career, that hopefully these conversations will make it easier to have these conversations about college, about drugs, about driving and drinking and all those other kind of things.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I was smiling when you were saying that, because not only am I a big proponent and advocate for reading with your kids, through those younger years, but also as teens. And sometimes my parents are thinking like, what? But I wholeheartedly believe in reading with your teens as well, and letting them see you read and you talking about reading as a way to really nurture that strong relationship with them. And that was something that was true for my kids as they were in their teen years. And I think they are certainly better off for it, and have facilitated other conversations. And like you said, cooking together, we've done that, and just taking walks together. That's one of the things I remember most about the time during COVID, is we spent a lot of time walking and talking together. And one of the things that I recommend for parents in having that conversation about college it's doing it at a time when you're walking together, when you're cooking together, and it's not the pressure of, okay, we need to talk about college here at the dinner table kind of thing, but in those casual ways that really helps them to open up.
Yeah. So you're telling me it doesn't help to sit your kid down and go, we have to have a conversation today.
Absolutely not.
Well, I really thank you for, I've been saying for years that we should continue to read with our teens and our middle school kids, but I'm just a dope on a podcast. You're an expert. You're a doctor. So I'm really glad you reinforced that message. Now people can take it to heart.
Absolutely.
What made you so passionate about this that you went and founded this organization?
Oh, my goodness. Some of it really started before I even knew that I would be doing this, Jed. And just with my own journey with trying to figure out college, I had a teacher, unfortunately, in grade school who told me I wouldn't amount to anything. And I was just like, I got to prove her wrong. I've got to prove her wrong. And so I just went about applying to any and every college. And my parents didn't even know what I was doing because they had finished 8th and 10th grade and they just didn't have any idea of how to help me. But when it came time to go, they allowed me to go. And my mother and I took a Greyhound bus across the country, and she gave me $70 for college. And that was going to last me the whole school year. And it lasted me less than a day. I got to the bookstore the next day and my books were $350 for the first quarter. And I just knew I couldn't call her. I knew I had to figure it out. And so fast forward, though, when I became a mom, I knew that my kids, especially being kids of color, were also going to have their own story where someone underestimated them or had low expectations for them. And I wanted to make sure that they knew how to deal with that. And so I just became obsessed with schooling, trying to figure out everything I could to help my kids with navigating, particularly through K-12. And that's what led me to going back to get my doctorate degree. And when I got my doctorate degree, it was around high school to college transition. So what supports students with being successful as they navigate through high school and then go on to thrive in college. And when some parents asked me if I would help them, that's when the company started.
Wonderful. I love when something is started out of that love and that passion. And I just love speaking to people who are passionate about what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes. And I always refer to it as my calling, not just my passion, because there's nothing else that I know that I would be doing other than what I'm doing now. All of the roads have led to what I'm doing today.
That's wonderful. What else do we need to talk to our kids about in terms of college? We talked a little bit about money. Is it important to sit down with our kids and have conversations like, well, great, I love that you want to study, you have an interest in studying this subject or that subject, but are you going to be able to make a living doing that after you graduate?
Yeah. Yes, that's definitely an important conversation to have. The one that I would start with, though, is why do they want to go? Because that can be the most telling in terms of everything else as far as what are the things they're involved in high school, which colleges even make sense to be on their list. Why do they want to go? For some students, it's about learning and being in a space to learn. For others, it's about career prep. And so if that's their goal, then yes, is that a career that can make money? Or, what are the things you want to do with that career? And so that's the first question that I would ask. And then the second statement or at least understanding for them to have is that the process isn't necessarily about the colleges. It's about them and the growth and the development that they'll have through that experience. And when you take it off the colleges, that then removes that need to just go to a brand name or just go to college, for the sake of it, or to a college just because it's local. But what is it about you? And if they're an athlete, especially, not just going to that college because of that coach or that sport, but what else does it have for you? And that's going to really make it a place where you can thrive, especially thrive if you have an injury and no longer able to do that sport. So those are some of the things that I think as parents, oftentimes we do not have a conversation about that can really support our team with being even more successful with making a good decision.
Yeah. I love that. Again, it's about what do you want? What are your goals? What are you hoping for?
Right.
What does a parent say when we ask a kid, why do you want to go to this college or that college? And the answer is, because my boyfriend's going to go there.
Oh my goodness, wrong choice. I've had that happen where I was working with a student and his girlfriend was applying to the same colleges that he was applying to. Now, I wasn't working with his girlfriend, only with him. So the list was about a fit for him. And so fast forward to the spring of senior year, and he was admitted to a college. He got quite a bit of money. She was admitted to that same college. She didn't get any money, but that was the college she wanted to go to and wanted him to go there as well. And a whole big quarrel ensued because the parents knew that there was another college that was a better fit for him and didn't want him to go to college just because of her. And sure enough, he did end up going to another college. They ended up breaking up even before the fall of freshman year. And, he went on and he was successful in his college, and I'm sure she was in hers. But I am not a proponent of that at all. And if there's any way to talk them out of it, because so many teens, they feel like, oh, this is the person I'm going to be with the rest of my life. And I'm thinking like, no, not really. Yeah. So much is going to change. You're going to learn so much about yourself when you go away. And the thought of this is the one and only, it just never really works. And so there's any modicum of wisdom you can impart so that they avoid that, please do.
Now, what about the kid who sits down and works with you and works with his parents and comes back and says, you know what? I don't think college is for me.
Yeah. We've had that happen as well. And with one of our students, he was not the best student. He really didn't enjoy high school at all. And what we did do is his parents believed strongly that, yes, you're going to college. And in senior year, he did apply to a few colleges. But what we did was look at gap year or bridge year programs so that he could have that space to figure out what he wanted to do. And we curated a list of gap year programs that would offer him that kind of opportunity. I wanted him to still apply to a few colleges so that he could build up his confidence and know that, yes, he could do it. And it wouldn't be that he was opting out of applying because there was a fear of failure or fear of being denied admission. And it turned out that we worked together on writing a deferral letter once he was admitted to the colleges for a college that he really liked, and they actually gave him quite a bit of scholarship money as well. And so he wrote that letter because he knew that he was going to do a gap year experience, and the college actually agreed to allow the deferral for a year, and they would hold the money so that he would have that money when he started a year later. And that was the best thing for him. He did a full gap year experience, and it was life-changing for him.
Wonderful.
And he did end up going to that college and very successful. And he was thriving when he was there and not the struggling student he had been in high school, because it was more purposeful. And having had that experience of being away from home, seeing the world, and really maturing was important for him to have done.
Wonderful. One of the questions I often ask an author is, do they ever take the time to think about all the hundreds of thousands of families that have sat curled up together reading their book? I'm wondering if you've had the time to sit back and think about all the students and families that you have helped have a better, more fulfilling college experience.
Absolutely. I think about it a lot, and especially as an entrepreneur, when there are times that I'm struggling or feeling challenged or stressed, that's what I turn to really regain my strength and sense of resilience.
We should tell everybody, what's the first step? If folks are interested in this, you said the first time to reach out is sophomore year. I imagine there might be some parents of 8th graders or freshmen, or just, I want to just find out what this is so I don't forget about it.
Right. I would say I have a gift for them that I'd like to give them. And so if they have an 8th grader, 9th grader, start with the gift, and that could be a way for us to start a conversation. And that gift is what I refer to as the College Confidence Blueprint. And it's a guide, a step-by-step roadmap for what to expect each year, as well as a communication guide in terms of how to talk with your teen about college. And all they have to do is to message me on LinkedIn at Dr. Pamela Ellis, DrPamelaEllis, and they can message me the keyword Blueprint 25. And that will start our conversation. And I would love to talk with them more about how I can support their success on their teen's journey.
Excellent. And if, when they hear this conversation, their kid's already a junior or a rising senior, is there's still something that you can do with them?
They can see it. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not everyone comes, early for sure. And I would still love to talk with them, especially as a junior, because that's even more urgent if they haven't started the process. But yes.
And so everybody should mark this website down, Compass collegeadvisory.com. Is that your website?
Yes, it is. It is. Yes,
and
absolutely.
Dr. Ellis is obviously passionate and committed to this. So if your kid's in kindergarten, write down that, bookmark that website so that when they get to 8th and 9th grade, you can get that free gift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so very much, Jed.
We've had a wonderful time. Dr. Pam Ellis, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by the Logan series. 3 wonderful books written by Christine Ritchie McNamee. Logan and the Missing Masterpiece, Logan and the Lost Luggage, Logan and the Missing Jewels. Logan and the Lost Luggage is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, and all 3 of these books feature Logan, an adorable Cocker Spaniel who travels the world with his magic phone. You and your kids are going to love traveling around the world with Logan, meeting animals from all over the world, visiting different countries, and learning how to get along with people from other countries and other cultures. It's a beautiful series of books. Our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read panel loved Logan and the Last Luggage. We know you're going to love all 3 books. Check it out today. The Logan series by Christine Ricci McNamee. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Georgia. Our guests are here to celebrate the adventures of Fribbit the Frog. Please welcome to the show Gary Intili and Leighann Troino. Leighann, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Jed?
I'm wonderful. Gary, how are you? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having us.
Leighann, why don't we start with you? Tell us, who is Fribbit the Frog and what adventures is Fribbit going on?
Sure. So Fribbit is all from my father's imagination. He came up with the idea when I was pregnant with my first child, which happens to also be his first granddaughter. And he was kind of looking at some of the little figurines he has in the backyard and started coming up with stories that he wanted to eventually tell his grandchild once they came. Now that was 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, at this point. So this story came a long time ago, all from just pure love. And so Fribbit is just based off of, like I said, the figurines in the backyard. And he is a little frog, and he goes on his very first adventure for the first time of being allowed to go on the other side of the farm without his mom nearby. And he gets to go and hang out with his friends. And so the whole idea is he going to listen to the rules of his mom? Is he going to be able to go on these adventures again in the future? So that's a little bit about Fribbit.
Yeah.
Gary, how did that, Leighann shared that they're based on these figurines that are in the backyard. Were you out there one day and the figurines just started kind of talking to you, or?
Yes, actually. So I have a pond in the backyard, which during my sitting out there, named Brightly Pond. I gave it a name just like I gave the characters' names. And I have a deck with a hammock. So I'm sitting on my hammock and I'm looking over at the pond, and I have these figurines by the deck, and I have them over by the pond. So Fribbit and Darby and a couple other things are over there by the pond. And over on the deck was Polly Pig and Billy Bull is what I named them. I had a bull and a little pig over there. So it just came to me about a story about the little frog coming over to visit his friends and that long trek he has from where he is in Brightly Pond over to the other end of the farm. I just created a farm with the pig and the bull. So it just came to me about, okay, giving them names. And I walked around and says, okay, I'm going to call you Darby Dragonfly. You're Fribbit the Frog, Mama Ribbit. There's a couple of characters. There's a squirrel. It's Cheech. I had fish in the pond, so I named one. What did I name it? Freddie. I think it was Freddie's Fish. So I just gave them names and just sat there and came up with this story about the little frog going on an adventure without his mother all the way that long trek over to see his friends over at the farm. And it just came out, and then I just talked to Leighann and says, hey, I think I got a story here. I wrote down what I thought, gave it to her. She wrote down her thoughts based on what I said the basis of the story was. And then we just sat down together and massaged it a little bit and came up with our final product.
Awesome. Leighann, how much massaging did you have to do from your dad's original idea?
Honestly, I didn't have to do much. It was more just adjusting the grammar, adjusting some of the sentences, shortening the sentences a little bit, and keeping it consistent. But for the most part, he came up with the entirety of the story, and I just tweaked and added a few things here and there. But
she added to some of the personalities of the characters. You know, I think that maybe the character would do this or do that at this time. So we just kind of tossed things back and forth to each other, and voila, we had a story. I was not a writer. I've never even thought about doing this, and then when she announced that she was having a baby, it just all of a sudden stuff just started coming out, and I just started creating these little stories. And we have a number of other ones that Lee and I have kind of worked on together for a whole little, hopefully a series and follow-ups. This is his first adventure, so we're hoping that we have second, third, fourth, and so on.
Awesome. I've spoken many times on the show about how when my son came into the world, my life really changed in a dramatic way for the better. It sounds like when you found out you were going to be a grandfather, that's the same thing that happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just, I was so excited. It was our first grandchild. We have 2 kids, Leighann, and she has a brother, Matt, and she was saying, hey, I'm going to have a baby. So we were very excited about that for her and her husband. And something snapped. I don't know. It just started, this information, this creativity came out that I never had before. And it was just incredible. Just the feeling of a little one coming into our lives. I remember, of course, when she was a baby, just to have her all over again as a little baby was just very excited for me and my wife. And what's really fun now is that Leighann lives right next door. Her and her husband and Eliana live right next door to us. And we just walk through the back gate and see the little one every single day.
That's wonderful. Leighann, what was it like when, as Gary said, this was not part of his character when he came over to you and he's like, I get this idea for a story. What was your reaction?
Honestly, I wasn't super surprised. He's always been someone that is really creative and trying to find, different ways to challenge himself. He likes taking on a challenge. He likes learning new things and trying out new things. And so when he came with that idea, I was like, hey, let's read it. Let's look at it. This might have legs. And it did. And so we just kept going with it. And I wasn't super surprised. I was impressed.
Yeah. Gary, one of the things we love to talk about here on the podcast is imagining what kind of conversations a family can have as they're curled up on the couch reading an author's books. What do you think those families can talk about when they're reading The Adventures of Fribbit the Frog?
Well, basically, I never set out to do a message in the stories, but once I write them, they kind of have, the message kind of just grows. And with this one, Fribbit's first adventure, going off on his own, making sure he's following the rules and listening to what his mother said, because in the end, if he does, he can do other things and do other adventures without mommy by his side. So it's listening to what mother and father say. When you're out there, be careful, have fun, but also be careful. And if you have an issue, if you have a problem, get a question, when you come back, make sure you talk to mommy and daddy about what happened, tell them what went on, how you handle it. And it's all about handling things when you're on your own and following the rules that your parents set out for you. So it would be talking about that, say, just mommy, daddy say to do this, make sure you do that. We're doing it to tell you to stay safe. Mm-hmm. And it's all about safety, but having fun, having an adventure.
Yeah. Leighann, what's it like having such the family so close?
It's incredible. We used to live about 30 minutes away when my daughter was first born. And once we started looking for a house, this one actually just came up on the market, like as we were looking. And so we were like, hey, it's right next door. We know we like the area because this is where my husband and I both grew up. So we felt pretty good about it, and it's been great having them next door. Like, my mom is over right now just watching my daughter while we are able to talk to you. And so yesterday she just went over there and hung out and had dinner at my parents' house, and it was fantastic to be able to call over to them at any time. And a really great example, not a fun example, but a great example is when we first moved in, we had lived here for two weeks. And I accidentally fell down the stairs and broke my leg. Thankfully, my husband was home, but I was carrying my daughter. So he was, tending to her, and thankfully she's okay. She's fine. But my husband was able to call my dad and be like, I need you to come over immediately. And so it was great having my parents and my brother come over within seconds, knowing that my daughter was going to be taken care of while my husband and I went to the hospital to go get taken care of and get my leg fixed and everything. So just, it's really great.
And also when she says, hey, Dad, can you fix this? Yeah. Can you fix that? Yeah. I'm right next door. I can come over and I can fix whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I've talked about this on the show in the past. I grew up in the inner city of Boston, but everybody on both sides of my family, and until I get to high school, all live within a mile of us. And so it was very, very close. And I love celebrating intergenerational friendships because I think it's so important. My grandmother was one of my best friends. She rode in the back of my motorcycle. We went to see the WWE together all the time. It was wonderful. And I have a feeling that that's in your future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because her in-laws were just a couple miles up the road until recently when they just sold their house. So her mother and father-in-law were just a few minutes away as well. And then her brother-in-law and his wife are only probably about maybe 10 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So, growing up when she was little, when we lived on Long Island, my first house with my wife was only 2 miles from where I grew up, and my parents were still there. My sister was 2 blocks down from me. My brother and other sister were only about 2 miles away from us, around the corner from each other as well. So there was a little triangle of my brother and sister, me and my other sister, and my parents. And then in the middle was my wife's 2 sisters of us. So that little triangle had both sides of the families. And so her and Leighann and her brother Matt was supposed to, they could see the kids, their cousins all the time, and their grandparents.
That was great. Leighann, that's, you're creating a life for your daughter and your kids, surrounded by extended family. It's not something that everybody has these days. It's in this time when we're mobile and families are spread out. It's really unusual. Have you taken the time to sit down and kind of process like wow, we're really lucky?
Yeah, my husband and I talk about that a lot. His grandparents used to live with him before they passed away. They lived downstairs, like a full apartment. So, the idea of having, grandparents so close, it was never foreign to us. Mm-hmm. My grandma lived with us for a period of time as well. So having extended family has never been foreign. It's always been something that's welcomed. My husband and I are both from Italian families. So family is very, very important to us. We have loud, crazy, big families that we just absolutely adore and embrace. And knowing that she has her grandparents and her aunts and uncles so accessible to her, they're going to be able to teach things that maybe I can't teach her or my husband can't teach her. Different perspectives, just, different values and such. And she's going to be able to grow up very closely with her cousins as well. And not only, my and my husband's actual siblings, but their spouses' siblings as well have become our extended family. Ellie, we like to say that, my sister-in-law's sister, their daughter and son, those are Ellie's cousins, right? Because they're pretty much their cousins. And so not only, like I said, not only are we having just our immediate family and grandparents and aunts and uncles, but we've extended that to a very large, family that we typically have around at all times.
And Leann's in-laws have kind of been our extended family as well. My wife and I, her brother-in-law's wife's parents we're very friendly with them, and I'll get together with the father a lot, and then we'll do things. We'll get invited to their family functions there, invites our family functions. So it's extended. Not only her, but also my wife and I have also extended our family by bringing them in and them bringing us into the fold as well.
Wonderful. Gary, what was it like sitting down and reading Fribbit the Frog to your granddaughter for the first time?
It was fun, but also strange, because as I'm reading it, I'm like, this came from me, and it was just very weird, but it was exciting to read about these characters I created and her listening to something that I wrote and me explaining to her when she got old enough to understand that Poppy and Mommy wrote this together. This came from the two of us. So it was exciting. It was strange, again, because it's not something I ever thought of doing. So to hear these words come out and go, wow, this is something that I actually put down on paper, and the characters, and it was excited and strange at the same time. It's about all I could say, that it was exciting and it was strange as well.
Yeah. And Leighann, writing, is this something that you've always dreamed of, or was it just as big a surprise for you?
Yeah, same thing. Same, big surprise. I never dreamt of writing anything, never dreamt of publishing anything. But like I said, he came to me and the story had legs, so we took it to the finish line.
Awesome. Is there a place we can go to find out more about Brightly Pond and the adventures of Fribbit the Frog?
Yeah, so we have an Instagram, Brightly Pond.
Yes.
Yes. So our Instagram, Brightly Pond. I always forget the name of it. Really great there. And then, our books are also sold on Amazon and third party through Walmart and Target, as well as directly through us as well.
Wonderful. We've had a great time speaking and learning about Brightly Pond, the adventures of Fribbit the Frog. Our guests have been Gary Intili and Leighann Troino. My friends, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Jed.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. All my friends, we are going to have a great time. We have a husband and wife team on celebrating their Adventures of Granola Squash series. And we're talking about Book 3, The Mysterious Present. Please welcome to the show, Landa and Tom Peniston. My friends, how are you?
Good.
Great. How are you?
I am wonderful. Landa, you are the author of this book. Tell us all about it, please.
This is a book that is more about entertaining and fun. It's for ages 3 to 8, and it stars a hippie Bigfoot. And it's his adventures as he wakes up Christmas morning and he finds a mysterious present outside of his cave. And as he opens it, he finds this just dazzling, magical, shimmering ornament. Just amazing, the best he's ever seen. So he goes on a adventure on his way to the annual Christmas tree decorating party. He goes to find out who left him this gift. And as he comes across all his woodland friends, each one of them has also received a dazzling, magical, shimmering ornament. So it's just a big mystery of who left this ornament. And when they get to the party, they do indeed find out who did it. And of course, it alludes to the big red guy, But it has a pretty good twist at the end, so that is not who brings the ornaments.
All right. All right. Tom, as the illustrator, I am very, very curious. What does this hippie Sasquatch look like?
He dresses with a tie-dye vest on.
Uh-huh.
He has a white linen shirt underneath it, and it has all these fancy frills, and he also has a tie-dye bandana that he wears. And he also wears a peace necklace.
All right. Oh, yeah. Tom, I don't know if I should be angry or honored. That's how I used to dress in high school.
It's a good look, and it's coming around.
It is. Although I wore bell-bottom pants. I don't think I could get away with not wearing bell-bottom or any kind of pants as Sasquatch can.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be able to get the bell-bottoms over the big feet.
So you both look a lot younger than me and all my hippie friends. What inspired the creation of this hippie Sasquatch?
It really started with Tom. I mean, ever since he was little, he was a big fan of Bigfoot, still is. He truly believes he exists. And, he drew a little cartoon of him and put it on our refrigerator. And every day I'd walk out there in the kitchen and I'd walk by that. And I just thought, oh, he's such a fun, cool looking, groovy character. That would make an awesome children's book. It's a unique, character. There's not that many Bigfoot characters out there. And this one is fun. He's not scary. He's groovy. He's got all of his woodland friends, and they're all kind, and they do giving. And so it's just a really good atmosphere.
I love that. We've had lots of, not lots, but we've had a couple of authors on who've talked about Bigfoots and other cryptids.
Cryptids, yep.
And I find it fascinating. I don't know where I land on do I believe Bigfoots are real or not, but I certainly am open to the idea of the fact that we don't know everything that's out there.
Right, yeah.
Now, Tom, when Landa says that you're a big Bigfoot fan and you're a believer, are you truly a believer, or is it just something fun?
I mean, I grew up watching like the In Search of episodes with Leonard Nimoy and a lot of the classic documentaries of the 70s. And it just enthralled me and it just hooked me. And I thought, with this series, what would be funner than a mysterious creature trying to solve mysteries himself? And so it's just been just a fun project, and it's just been going over. So everybody's been loving the new character, and we're just having a lot of fun with it.
Well, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about your wonderful books and find out more about both of you.
Okay. We have a website called GammaBurstBooks.com. And on there you can find links to our books and information about us and our school visits. And then our books are also sold on Amazon.
We've had a wonderful time speaking to the author and illustrator of The Adventures of Granola Squash. Our guest has been Tom and Landa Peniston. My friends, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok, and at Jedly Magic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/Reading With Your Kids. You can find all of our Drawing With Your Kids videos there, as well as most recent past episodes of Reading With Your Kids. We also would love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can check out our blog, visit our Reading With Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame, and use the contact button up at the top of the page. Send us a message and let us know what you love about the show. Let us know what we could be doing better. Let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of Reading With Your Kids. And if you're an author, please be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest on the show. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlit fans all around the world about your great children's book. You can also learn about our very effective and very affordable promotional services. We would also love it if you could check out the two newest members of the Reading With Your Kids podcast family, Guardians of the Game. If you and your kids love Dungeons and Dragons and collaborative storytelling, you absolutely want to check out Guardians of the Game. We would also love for you to check out the Connecticut Book Festival's podcast. We're celebrating the vibrant stories, unforgettable characters, and brilliant authors who call Connecticut home. And whether you're a lifelong resident of Connecticut or just love discovering great books, that is the podcast for you. You can find Guardians of the Games and Connecticut Book Festivals wherever you find your favorite podcast. Of course, it's available on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you find your favorite shows. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with Dr. Pamela Ellis. Please be sure to check out Compass College Advisory. Gary Intili and his daughter Leighann Troino. Please be sure to check out The Adventures of Fribbit the Frog. And Tom and Landa Peniston. Please be sure to check out The Adventures of Granola Squash. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be with you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.